If you are a tech-savvy person, you know how important it is to remove your hard drive or wipe it before you get rid of your computer. Unfortunately, for those who are not so tech-savvy, they don't realize how much information is stored on this computer. With the information contained on your hard drive, it is easy to perpetrate identity theft, fraudulent activity on bank accounts, or any number of other violations. I'm going to show you an example of one of these situations. While driving around, I found a computer on the side of the road that had clearly been discarded. When I opened it up, I found the hard drive still inside. This made me curious to see if the person had even wiped the data before disposing of their computer. I used my hard drive reader and I went through the files on the hard drive to see what was there. The files you're about to see would have given me more than enough information for social engineering attacks, identity theft, or fraudulent charges on any of their accounts. Before we jump into this, let me give you a little backstory so you can follow along easier. This computer was last owned by a man that we're going to be calling Jim. It was previously used by his mother, who we will call Carol. Carol's husband was an accountant, and he sometimes used this computer as well. I've pulled off all the files that I think are going to be the most interesting for us to go through, so let's jump right into it. First, we see AOL Saved PFC. These are basically emails and email folders that have been saved onto the computer. Next, let's jump into the application data. So you'll see here we have a couple folders that we'll recognize. AIM, AOL, down at the bottom we have Yahoo and Yahoo Messenger. Obviously, if we go into these, we'll be able to see different accounts that he had with each one of these providers, and we'll be able to see anything that was saved there, such as session cookies or saved emails or instant messaging and things of that nature. If we skip over Carol and jump into the cookies, we see a lot of different files here for all different websites. Now, these could have a little bit of information in them, basically allowing us to see what websites he's accessed and where he's gone, which will allow us to see what accounts he may have had so we can look into those further. Let's go back into Carol Blank that we skipped over. So Carol Blank was the mother's name and her last name, which I've obviously changed. Now you'll see these two folders here. These are actually a women's organization that she belonged to. She was the secretary, so this includes minutes and other information about all the members and active members of that organization. A lot of boring information on what everyone was up to, so we're not going to delve into that. Now, if we look at charge cards right here, it's exactly what you think it is. It is a very convenient, I will say, list of all of her charge cards and 3-digit numbers on the back as well as the full charge number. Now this folder Gavel is where it gets really interesting. So remember when I said that the mother used this before? So this is actually the secretary for another organization that she belonged to. This was like a community lodge type of organization. So within this folder there's financial documents, membership lists, and records of anything that would pertain to the operations of the organization. So if we go into the permanent files down here, we'll actually see mailing lists, membership lists, officers, and other information like that. Obviously, if we went into all the other folders, you'd see what you'd expect to find: financial statements, records of trips, and everything like that. Now we're going to jump into the My Pictures folder. Now this is a lot of what you think that you would see, a lot of selfies, pictures of his dog, and things of that nature. Nothing terribly weird yet, but I assure you we will get to that. So let's first take a look at this Poems folder. This Poems folder isn't as much poems as it is letters from the mother to her friends. And in these letters, she actually goes into great detail on what's going on in her family. Later on I'll tell you a fun story about the son that I figured out through going all this information. This is great stuff for a social engineering attack or something of that nature where you're going to be able to find really in-depth information about this family. The letters that someone typically sends out at the end of the year to let everyone know how everything's going are in here. So really detailed, several pages long on each one of these, and there's several for many of the years. Now we see a Walt Disney confirmation here. If you know anything about how you save a web page, this is the file associated with it. So when we see the link to it down below, we'll click on that and I'll talk more about that. Then we see some pictures, some Excel spreadsheets of like a bowling match that he was in, some indexes of all the different movies he had, This one right here actually has his bank account information in it, and then just all sort of different information, cover letters, resumes, anything like that. We're going to take a look at one of these pictures in particular, actually this one right here. This is one of many examples of where he photoshopped other women's heads on other women, as well as photoshopping his own head on different guys to be with different women. So a little weird, but definitely not the most concerning from a privacy standpoint of what you find on here. If we go down here, we'll see a user's PNG. So these are all the users that were on the original computer when I took it off. I put this screenshot here, but I didn't want to take all the files because it was kind of useless. I'm going to have this blurred right now, but there were files on there for the father, the guy whose computer it was, and the mother. So let's take a look at this. We have a Walt Disney order confirmation here, basically just saying what he ordered. You know, this doesn't have anything with credit card numbers, so not terribly concerning from a privacy standpoint. But if we jump over here, ticket payment confirmation. So this is actually a ticket that he paid to the court, and that means that this includes the last four of his card number. I believe in the other file will actually say his license number, which we'll bring up in a second. So probably shouldn't have this on a computer that he's given away. We see a passwords file here. It's an RDS format. I don't know what that is, but I'm sure if we opened it up with something like Notepad++, maybe not. You know, with a little more research I could figure out what file that goes to and be able to use that password. My Money and My Money Backup, that's actually from a money management software. So that actually goes into where he has stocks, and his account information is on there. So if I were to open those up with the proper program, I'd be able to view all of where his holdings are and his money and everything like that. Alright, so now that we looked at all those files and you have a general overview of what was on this, let me give you a little story. And for that I'm going to open up a Poems and open up one of these just to show you where I'm getting this information from. So, as you can see, very detailed on where he's currently working and everything that is going on with the family. Now, in these, she actually goes into detail explaining how the son isn't doing well. He's very gullible. He keeps maxing out all of his credit cards so the parents keep paying off his loans. He's moved to 4 different states, can't hold down a job. And actually the mother recommends that he goes to the laundromat to pick up girls, so it's a little weird. But the part that really stuck out to me was the gullible part, how he has access to his parents' cards. We have card numbers for them, and we have plenty of information to be able to do a social engineering attack on this person. You know, when he gave away his computer, not only were there passwords and other information on there, it was the intangible evidence, you know, the background that this gives somebody into his daily life to be able to use this against him. I also didn't show you some of the accounting files because I believe that's in bad taste. I mean, yes, I can blur it out, but the father had an accounting business. He was a certified public accountant, and he had people's tax information on here. And this computer was just discarded on the side of the road. So, you know, you might think that you have a less amount of information, but if somebody really wants to, they can pull a lot of information off your computer. You know, with some forensics tools, they can see the websites you visit, passwords, usernames, any files that you've deleted can be recovered. And this can all be used whether to directly steal your identity, log into your accounts, or indirectly by mounting a social engineering attack. Don't make yourself victims. Make sure you clear the hard drives properly, make sure you're securely removing them before you discard a computer, and know where it winds up. You know, placing it on the side of the road, you really don't know whose hands it's going to wind up in. In this case, I picked it up and I have no malicious intent. I'm going to be securely wiping this and discarding of it, but I'm making this video to prove a point that, you know, you have to be safe when you dispose of your hardware, whether it be a phone, a computer, or any other thing like that.